a great pleasure to welcome Mike van Lier to What's Next. Mike is the Vice President of Consumer Electronics at Samsung Electronics. And we're going to talk about a whole lot of things, including the latest TVs and the technology that Samsung's been pushing the envelope over years. Every visit I go to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, I just marvel at where TVs go every year. Just as you think that they can't get better, they get better. And this year was no exception. I was there in January and I saw some of the stuff. Mike, it's great to chat to you. How have you been?
All good, Aki. It's great to see you again. It's been a few months, I think, but good to be with you again.
Just as well that we don't age fast, you know. We look like we did just a few months ago. Mike, great to see you, man. Listen, what are some of the latest technology advancements in smart TVs? I was just commenting earlier how much innovation has gone into smart TVs. I mean, I remember them, a decade ago, and where they are today. It's quite extraordinary where we are today with smart TVs.
Yeah, amazing, Aki. In fact, this is probably the most exciting year we've had in 5 years. You'll remember in 2018, we launched a new range of product called Neo QLED, which included the initial 4K units. And of course, a bit later, we had 8K sets coming through. We're excited to see 8K eventually taking some traction. There's more content available for 8K. Of course, the connection speeds are a lot better. And even for the gamers out there, a lot of games are starting to come out in 8K. But the reason I tell you it's exciting is that there are two particular categories that we've entered into, which we have not been in before. The first is OLED. We've launched a full range of OLED product from 55-inch all the way up to 77-inch. And by the end of the year, we will add an 83-inch into that range. And we're very excited about that. The traction and the acceptance from the public has been absolutely fabulous. The other technology, which is the technology you probably saw at CES, is called micro LED.
Yes.
Pretty expensive technology. We're early in the phase of micro LED. If you've seen the product, you'll know how brilliant the picture is. It's absolutely fascinating to sit in front of one of these sets. In fact, we bought our first set into South Africa. It's proudly displayed in Kramerville in Johannesburg at a place called Cinema Architects, whom we've partnered with. There is a 110-inch micro LED there, and it's absolutely mind-blowing, this TV.
But that's an impressive range of TVs. Tell us about this year's lineup and what it focuses on.
Yeah, so 2023, I think for us, we wanted to cover all bases. In the sales environment, we have a lot of customers, of course, coming to us and saying, look, I'm looking to buy a TV. It's a pretty open-ended question, that. And we teach the sales guys to ensure that they, educate the consumer to understand what it is they need and what they need per room. For instance, you would ask the customer, where would they be using the TV? And if they were using it in a main area, of course, we would ask the size of the area. And if they had a very large lounge, we would push them for a very large TV, like an 85-inch or a 98-inch for that matter. If it was a particularly bright room, we'd probably push into Neo QLED technology. It's a much brighter panel than the OLED counterpart. But if they had a slightly darker room, OLED is a wonderful technology as well and really brings out those blacks and the rich colors. So these are the types of things that we're bringing forward in our 2023 range, and very excited about that. Of course, we've got the usual favorites, our UHD, which is affordable to most customers. Our Neo QLED is into its 5th version, as I mentioned, and 8K is really starting to take traction now. And of course, our lifestyle TVs, our frame TV and Serif TV that you would want to fit into the aesthetics of the home, maybe in a bedroom or maybe in a study or a library or something like that. You would choose a product like that, and that's also been very successful over the last 5 years.
Mike, it's interesting you mentioned about people, going to buy a TV, and sometimes, and it's quite daunting. I mean, let's be honest, you've got all these panels looking at you, you say you want a smart TV. There's so much choice out there. And yet, I do go into people's homes, and you can see they've got the wrong TV. It's the wrong size. It's positioned in the wrong way. And if you're spending that money on a TV, you must make sure you got the right TV in your room. So what strategies do you recommend for integrating a smart TV seamlessly into your home? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned well that it's important that you get the right TV. You made mention that you go to a few friends' houses. It doesn't look like the most aesthetically pleasing product either on the wall or on a stand. It looks a little bit bulky. So we do try and educate the customer to buy the right TV for the right space. And we believe that the experience in store is important to ensure that we get that right. From a connectivity perspective, as you know, most of our TVs actually come with Smart Things built in. Smart Things is an interesting application. Samsung bought that business back in 2016, and it's actually become a very powerful tool now, not only on the mobile devices, but also on TV. So you can link Smart Things to your TV. The application is already loaded on your TV. It then becomes the hub for the household. What's interesting about Smart Things is that it's an open architecture system. And it's linked to over 200 vendors now. So, for instance, Philips ambient bulbs, you could connect to Smart Things. So, a plethora of product you can connect and control directly from your TV. So, nice innovation coming through there to ensure that we calm the connected world within a TV, and you only have one application to be able to do that.
Okay, that's very interesting. And I actually didn't know that the architecture was open. I mean, I've got the smart things connected to one of my air cons here, and it's wonderful. I switch it on before I arrive home, and my home is warm and everything. But I didn't quite realize that you could add it to an open architecture, which is really cool. And that's where it is. That's definitely one of the themes that CES this year is the smart home. And the kind of TV almost becomes the hub of everything in your home that you can control from there. What are some of the other things to keep your eyes on when choosing your smart TV? Now, you mentioned there's UHD, there's the OLED, there's the QLED. What are some of the other things that you should be paying particular attention to when choosing that smart TV?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about the different technologies and really that is determined by where you're going to be using that device, but also probably what you're going to be using that device for. I saw an interesting statistics yesterday, actually, 3.1 billion gamers globally. These gamers are obviously gaming on different platforms like mobile phones and tablets and notebooks and PCs and, of course, consoles. I think that that's an important question then to ask. What is it that you're looking for from a TV to enhance your gaming experience? We know most games now are coming out in 4K. We saw an interesting gap in the market because gamers, in fact, like a slightly smaller screen because they don't want to lose time looking from left to right. So, for instance, a 98-inch, maybe lose some critical time before you make that kill on your favorite game. But we've launched 43-inch QLEDs, for instance, Neo QLEDs in 4K. And we have an interesting set of monitors as well called the Odyssey range of monitors. And interestingly enough, a 24-inch monitor happens to be the one. So these are critical questions that we've got to ask ourselves, or the consumer has got to guide us to, as to what they're going to be using that TV for. And we now, for the first time in many years, have an entire range for that. What's also a little bit interesting,
Wow.
Aki, is that big screen is a big phenomenon. 85-inch and 75-inch panels is the biggest growing category in TV currently in South Africa. In fact, globally, we introduced a 98-inch last year, and you'll be surprised to see how many people are buying 98 inches. And the price is also getting a bit more interesting. We currently have a launch offer for 99,000 Rand. Sure, it's still a lot of money, but for a 98-inch TV, this is starting to get interesting for a lot of people that want to enjoy big cinema at home.
Gee, that's so interesting. Look, it's one thing to enjoy the big cinema, but I mean, there's obviously other considerations. And just on the gaming thing that you mentioned, the one good question to ask, of course, is refresh rate. The gamers like that, how fast the screen refreshes. But, a great TV is fantastic. But then you've got the design of the TV, you've got the picture, and the sound is very important, isn't it? As well as the
Yeah.
connectivity options. And of course, when you're starting to look at the compatibility with other smart home devices, if you're going to spend all that money on a smart home TV, it better integrate very well with the other smart home devices. And of course, the sound, as I mentioned, is critical as well.
Yeah, I think the out-of-box experience with a Samsung TV, but I expect to have actually with most Samsung products is pretty seamless. If you've got a Samsung account and you've used a TV before and you unbox your brand new Neo QLED, it literally takes minutes to get that TV up to the same settings that you had on your old TV. So that's important that we have that sort of seamless connectivity with the device. You spoke about refresh rate. So that's an interesting one. TVs now going up to 144 hertz refresh rate. And the reason why that's important is that there's more and more people connecting PC or notebook to a TV, which is an interesting trend that we see. Not only console being connected, but also PC being connected. And we're very excited, of course, launched 144 hertz. And like I said, 8K is becoming a little bit interesting. We've doubled our sales of 8K this year. We've been going at it for about 5 years now, but it's starting to take some interesting traction. Of course, you can record on your phone at 8K. YouTube has a dedicated 8K streaming service, but the games specifically, there's a new game been out called Lies of P. Probably my kids will know better than that, better about that than me, but that is exclusively launched in 8K, which means you can get the best out of your TV. Very exciting time for us.
No, it's just amazing where it's going. Mike, I know that Samsung spends billions and billions on research and development. I think you spend a high percentage. I'm not sure of the exact number, but it's one of the highest in the world on what you spend on innovation and of course the eco-conscious practices. I just recently played around with the S23 Ultra, and I was amazed at how much of that phone comes from recyclable materials. It was quite extraordinary. Customers today obviously very conscious of these kind of things and making life easier and better for customers. I mean, all of these things play a very important role, don't they?
Yeah, for sure, Aki. We've done a lot in the TV space. Just to your first question or your comment, we spend north of 7% of our total revenue on R&D, which is almost the amount. You'll probably know that Samsung is very close to $300 billion internationally. So you can work out 7% of that is a lot of $1 billion that we spend on R&D. But well said, we spend a lot on eco-consciousness and a lot of ocean-bound plastics going into our products to make sure that we get that out of it. Interestingly enough, and I know it's not about TV, but some of our new washing machines have filters that are built in because I'm not sure if you know that, but over 50% of ocean-bound plastics are coming from our clothing, and washing of clothing is coming out of that. So we're hoping to trap that before it even gets to our oceans. On a TV front, of course, big investment into the packaging. This is one of the biggest things, when you buy that brand new big TV and you put that big package on the side of the road to get picked up by the trash, that just goes into landfills, and we're not really keen on that happening. So we've done a few things. We've taken the ink out of it, as you know, so it's a big brown box now to make sure that the earth is looked after. We're taking staples out of it, so when it's processed for recycling, they don't have the difficulty of the big staples within the boxes. And of course, just a couple of interesting things is that you can download templates. And in fact, you can make little animals or little shelves out of your TV box if you feel it necessary. So you can reuse it as some sort of piece of furniture. Another really great initiative that I love is actually the remote. Most of the TVs now come in with a solar remote. And what's important about that is that it takes 99 million batteries out of landfills, which is absolutely massive. By the way, that's remote. So it happens to be open architecture. So it's completely available for any TV manufacturer to download that and utilize that technology for their own sets. We are obviously hoping to do better for the earth and make sure that most people buy into that.
Wow, Mike, I mean, that's extraordinary. I like, you don't think of things like even like the staples. As you were saying, staples in a box, I thought, I was trying to in my brain count how many staples would be in a box. And it's a lot of staples, that stuff. You throw it into a landfill, it doesn't just disappear. It's in the environment, it's horrible. And then, of course, the batteries. If I think of how many remotes I've got lying around, if you can eliminate the batteries on those remotes, you're solving a massive problem when it comes to recycling. Mike, absolutely fascinating. I'm looking forward to the new content and the new TVs that are out there. And you're absolutely right when it comes to 8K. It's mind-blowing when you look at it. When I saw it a couple of years back, I thought, well, there wasn't enough content, but it's matured now. There's enough content, and we're creating incredible amounts of content in 8K on our devices. So it certainly seems like it's going mainstream, but what an impressive range you've got coming up this year. Mike van Lier, the Vice President of Consumer Electronics at Samsung Electronics. Thank you so much for joining us on What's Next, Mike.
Aki, pleasure to be with you. Thanks very much.